Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Now, this time, usually we enjoy the summer and don't come back until the start of the football season, or right, early, late August, around the 20th of August or so. But I thought with what went on this weekend, with the injury to Judge, and some of the moves that have already happened, we're a couple of days from the trade deadline. It was a good time to check in. First of all, the Yankees clearly dodged the bullet with Judge. I was away and I got a report that they really were very worried that this could be a serious injury. It turned out that it's not. But let's be honest, it looks like when Judge comes back, and he didn't even want this stint off, the doctors felt it was important that he takes it. And who knows exactly what day he's coming back? You never know. I mean, it could be longer than you think. But when he comes back, he's probably going to DH. So that has to now be put into the equation. Is he's going to occupy probably the DH spot, and the idea of Stanton being an everyday outfielder to me is comical. I think it's going to limit Stanton's at bats dramatically. The Yankees can't just give away defense. They've given away defense far too often this year at critical times, and the ball will find you. You think you can hide a guy at a certain spot, and you can't. They can be, if they're going to play Dominguez in left and Stanton in right, first of all, it relegates a very dependable player in Grisham to the bench, and it puts Bellinger in center field, and all of a sudden your defense in the outfield corners is awful. So I don't know how often that's going to happen. I think you're going to take that on a very select day-to-day circumstance. But let's first see how long it takes Judge to come back before we worry about what Stanton's going to do. Okay? Right now, the Yankees have got to get by without the best player in baseball. And that's not easy because the Yankees have plenty of problems. Yesterday was a very big game for the Yankees because just mentally, if they lost that game the way things have been going to Philly and got swept by the Phillies, it was going to be a very, very tough game. They get behind. Obviously, they've always done fairly well against Wheeler. He usually pitches better than he did, although he battled. I mean, he was wild. He's hitting guys, but the Yankees made the game stick. Wheeler hung in the game because that's, he's a tremendous pitcher. And the Yankees won a game they had to win. Now, how happy I was that they got McMahon. I have been yelling about McMahon for 2 years. Some players just fit. This guy fits. I don't want to hear that he didn't hit for average in Colorado and that he struck out too much. I don't care about that. I don't care what he did in Colorado. What I know about this guy is he can pick it at third base, and you've already seen that. And you've already seen him utilize his defense, his range, his arm. I mean, he is a big-time third baseman, number one. And number two, he is going to hit at Yankee Stadium. He is made for Yankee Stadium. And I think he will be incredibly energized going from a team that is a laughingstock to going to the New York Yankees. His double yesterday, I just think, is the start of things to come. I expect big things out of him. I pushed for this trade for 2 years. I wanted this guy to come to the Yankees. And I think he's going to be a find. I think he just fits. He solidifies the left side of that infield. He'll make Volpe better. He is a proven player, and I think his bat will be better than you think. And I think he's got a swing that will be very, very dangerous at Yankee Stadium. And to me, you know what? Guys who can groove that swing at Yankee Stadium are extremely dangerous players. You're not going to want to bring righties into Yankee Stadium. And I understand that, the Yankees are vulnerable to lefties, and we're going to see more lefties. They are going to see more lefties, obviously, with Judge out of the lineup. I mean, there's no way around that. That's going to be the case. Now, the move for Rosario, I understand a righty bat. in certain spots. He's got versatility. Okay. Um, Neither here nor there. I don't think it's that big a deal. Now, what do the Yankees need to do? Well, first of all, they just need to play better, more confident baseball. They have lost their way as a team. They have completely lost their way as a team over a long period of time. It's been a long time in this season since the Yankees have played well. They need to put together a good string of games before they even think about what they have to do. Do they have to go out and get pitching? Yes. Do they need anything else in the lineup? They do not. But I would be very careful about jettisoning any of the key pieces to this team, and I don't think they will. Okay, I'll let Cash take care of the minor league players. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about right now is they need another starter, but more than anything else, they need a setup man into that pen if they can get one. Now, everybody wants relievers, you know that. But I think more than the Yankees going out and making that big splash now and adding that big pitcher, I think it's about them just playing solid baseball, which they haven't done for such a long period of time. And I think they need to put a couple of good weeks together. I don't think they have any confidence as a team right now. And obviously, they're without Judge, which is an incredible void into that team. So it's going to be a very interesting time for them right now. And they are vulnerable. Now, do I think they're going to miss the playoffs? I do not. Do I think they're going to win the division? I do not. But I do think they'll make the playoffs. And I think they will add some pitching support, although I don't expect it to be anything outrageous. Now, the better story right now as we head to this trade deadline is the Mets. Because the Mets have, let's be honest, they have confounded us again. They've confounded me again. They've had a lot of guys who have been ice cold, like Lindor. They obviously had to make some radical moves, like putting Alvarez in the minors. They have come out the other side. If I'm the Mets, I would be very aggressive going forward here. They are on the verge of having the best record in baseball now that they have 7 wins in a row. Big series in San Diego, obviously. Now, the Mets need more than most because they need a guy who they can put into a playoff starting role as a pitcher. They need a guy who can start a playoff game. Most teams don't need that. They need that. They need a guy who can actually do that because they can't count on any of these guys, whether they can't count on performance or they can't count on durability. Whether it's Senga, whether it's Manaea. Peterson, I think you can probably be the one who's probably the most dependable. I think he's over his slump. And I know Holmes' last game was good, but I think we're running to a point where the innings could be a bit of an issue. Now, would I go get a center fielder? I would. I don't think it'll be expensive. I know Roberts has been hot in July, that it might up the price for him. I have always liked Mullins. I think Mullins would be a positive on this team. He is a gamer. He can steal a big base. He can hit a big homer. He's got 14 steals. He's got 14 homers. I've watched him play forever. The guy, I think, would do well here. I would get him and add him to this mix. Does he have to play every single day? No. He would be a positive, and I don't think it would be extremely costly. Now, the Mets have got to get a starting pitcher. And I still think they need help in the bullpen, although they made the move for Soto, obviously. They have gotten some guys back, but I still think they need to go out and get a quality reliever. And if they can get someone who they can plug into the eighth inning, a closer who they can plug into the eighth inning in front of Diaz, that makes them immeasurably better in the pen. So I think they need a Cease or a Keller or a Gore or somebody like that you can get your hands on. Or obviously, I mean, everybody's been talking about Alcantara as a trade piece for so long, it's ridiculous. They need a starting pitcher for dependability. They're in this. They're very much in the mix of this. They have fixed things better than I thought they would. I've been impressed by what they've done. And I have to admit, they fooled me a little bit again. I didn't see this run coming. I didn't think they would sweep the Giants. I did not. And the Giants have really swooned. I mean, you got some hot teams like the Mets are hot. And the Rangers have come off the All-Star break red hot and put themselves in the mix when everyone thought they were going to be sellers. And Cincinnati, not surprised by me, but surprised by a lot of people, now 6 games over 500. Just look at the manager. On the cold side, you have the Giants, who I picked as an over this year, who have been coasting to that over all year and now have hit the skids. Tampa, down to 500. People thought they would be adding. They now will be selling. And Detroit knows that it has to add to the offense. And I think I make them the favorites to go get the big bat, most likely Suarez. They have the minor league system to do it. They have a reason to go do it. They need a guy that they can put in the middle of their lineup who can wreck games. I would go get the big bat if I was Detroit. They need a big bat. They need a guy who can break up games. They need, even though Suarez is not perfect, especially defensively, they need a big bat, and he's having a big year, and I think they need to put him right in the middle of their lineup. I think that goes without saying. So the trade deadline is Thursday at 6. You got relievers like Duran. You got Hesley from the Cards. You got maybe Mason Miller, although I doubt it. I really do. But I expect there to be some moves. I expect the Mets to be very active. I expect the Tigers to be very active. Yankees have already been active. I think they will be more active. They're always active. I think they'll add something. I don't think it will be sensational, but I think they'll add something. But the Yankees just need to just show that they can execute and play some tight, solid baseball. That game yesterday was big because it was a game where they held Philly off. They made plays in the field. They executed pitches when they had to. They got big outs when they had to. McMahon made big plays at third base, including the one in the hole that saved a tying run and really was just a sensational play against Taylor. I don't know what Taylor was doing on that play. I don't think that Taylor thought that McMahon got to the ball or that he could make the throw, and then he gets thrown out. He wasn't running hard. He stopped. It was very weird, but hey, McMahon shined at third base. Shades of some of the Yankee third basemen who could really pick it. I'm not putting him in a class with Nettles and Voya, but the bottom line is he's looked very good in his Yankee debut at third base. And he's made 3 or 4 plays already that have opened your eyes. And there's nothing better than a third baseman that's acrobatic. I've always loved the third baseman who is acrobatic. The guy who makes those, I go back to the days. Now, Brooks Robinson was a vacuum cleaner. He was as sure-handed as any player who ever played baseball. He could dominate the position, Boyer was an artist. If you go back old enough to remember Cletus Boyer was just amazing, some of the plays he made. He was not as consistent as Brooks. Nobody was. But he made incredible plays at third base. The days of Aurelio Rodriguez. Schmidt was a really good third baseman. Nettles, nobody shined like Nettles. Go back to the World Series against the Dodgers when Nettles probably put forth, other than Robinson's in the 70 series, probably put forth the greatest defensive display I've ever seen in the World Series. Either that or what Clemente did against the Orioles in the World Series would be close. But I think what Nettles did in the game, in the Guidry game, was probably, well, Preston Gomez said to him that night, this is the finest defensive play I've ever seen in my life. And he'd been in baseball a long, long time. I mean, that was that sensational. Nettles, who struggled as a third baseman early on, really could pick it. Well, now you have a guy over there who can pick it, really pick it. And it's fun to watch. It really is. Now, a couple of things off the beaten path. I'm not going to get into football yet. I'm glad, the report I got first when I was on the golf course up in Saratoga was that Fields had been carted off and that it looked like it was an Achilles injury. And I'm like, oh, man, the poor Jets. Luckily, that was not the case. Let me just say I've heard good things about Aaron Glenn. I will get to them when we do get towards football, but he is going to run a very, very old-fashioned tight ship. That goes without saying. He is cut from the old cloth, if you know what I mean. That goes without saying. There's a lot going on in the NFL. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in the NFL with the NFLPA, which I told you about was going to be something that was going to blow up. It is going to blow up in a big way. That's off the field. A lot of people don't care about that, but it's going to impact football. You also have strife headed ahead in baseball. And if people don't understand why, to the Players Association in baseball, the word salary cap are fighting words, then they don't understand the history of the player movement. They don't understand the impact of where they came from and how they were led and what it would mean to that union to give up that ever. It's something I really do not believe I will see in my lifetime, and it would be one of the most shocking things that I've ever seen if the players in baseball, if the Major League Baseball Players Association would ever agree to a salary cap. It would be throwing over everything that their history as a union, as one of the most dominant unions in this country since the days of Marvin Miller. It would stun everybody in labor if that happened. I do not think it will ever happen. I understand the problem baseball faces. I understand the problem they have with the haves and the have-not and how they have to rectify some of these teams that don't spend money. I understand all that. Yes, the football model works better. But remember, the football money, for the most part, is centralized. The baseball money has never been. It is fragmented. It is based on who you are and where you are. And that makes it a very different scenario. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because we could spend a very, very big amount of time on that. But I've heard people questioning whether or not, well, why won't the players just agree to a play? They'll get a lot of money. They would get a lot of money, but they would be throwing away who they are. They would be basically giving back everything in their mind mentally that they ever got. No, they're not going to go back to the days of the reserve clause. No, they're not going to go back to salaries that are minuscule, obviously. That doesn't happen in any sport. But they will never accept a salary cap, I don't believe, in our lifetime, because that's not their roots. They have been brought up a certain way. They have a path that they have been taught to follow, and it's been handed down player to player. That will not change. I would be absolutely stunned if that was the case. I was sad to hear the extent of Deion Sanders' illness. I hope the very radical surgery he had works. He seemed very confident that it will. I'm sure you listened and heard about the very aggressive form of bladder cancer that he had his whole bladder taken out and had a new one built in a robotic, very 21st century surgery, had a bladder built out of his small intestine. Hopefully, for his sake, it works, and he's around for a long time. So we send our best wishes and prayers to Deion that he stays healthy, whether you like him or not. He's good for sports. He's fun, and he's had a big impact as a player, and now as a kind of trailblazer. And obviously, he was extremely, extremely ill, and he has put his hands, put his life in the hands of the doctors and in science and in God, and hopefully, he's with us for a while. I think there will be a decent number of trades in the next 3 days. My understanding is the teams are holding out for astronomical prices right now for the pitchers, for the relievers, for any quality player, and that's what has really slowed the number of trades. When it moves, when the first one sends the player packing for less than expectations as the deadline nears, whether it's to dump salary or just get prospects or get close to major league ready talent, it will open up the market, and then you'll get a flurry before 6 p.m. on Thursday. I do think that will come. I know people have been very surprised that it has been this slow. First of all, teams change. Look at Texas. Look at Tampa. Teams have moved in, out, into contention, out of contention. The way baseball is set up now, it brings more teams into contention. So every day is different. Kansas City was getting rid of Lugo. Now they keep Lugo. As an example, there'll be positives, there'll be negatives. So from that standpoint, I think we will get a good number of moves in the next couple of days. I would be really get a good number in the next couple of days. Now, I have a promo here. Oh, here we go. Sign up for the Mike Francesa newsletter. You get exclusive content, contests, and offers. Go to MikeFrancesa'Podcast.com and sign up. All you have to do is give me your email, and you're in. They give away, different stuff, shirts, hoodies, goodies, and a bunch of different stuff that we do just for the newsletter. So it doesn't cost you anything. So just sign up, and away you go. As the more you do this and the older you get, more people pass. As an example, I was happy to see, I'll call him Richie Allen, get into the Hall of Fame after his passing. There were a couple players in that era that I was fascinated by. One was Rico Carty, one was Tony Oliva, and the other one was Richie Allen. And Richie Allen was a erratic personality and an erratic player who had other interests in baseball, including horses. He liked to live, but he was an all-world talent, and when he put his mind to playing baseball, he was as dominant a player as there was in the sport. The players all had an incredible respect for his talents. So there's no question on his best day, was he a Hall of Famer? Absolutely. He had some big years with the Phillies. He was Rookie of the Year. He was an MVP in Chicago with the White Sox and had an incredible season. He should have been better than he was. He should have had more years like his best years, but he was definitely a Hall of Famer, as was Dave Parker. They're really sensational players. And obviously the guys who were there, Ichiro, who no one can debate, or CC, or Billy Wagner. The bottom line is, though, for me, it was big that Allen got in. He was a favorite of mine. I used to love to watch him play, and boy, he could hit the ball an absolute country mile. And talking about passing, as you know, folks, I don't talk wrestling. I'm not a wrestling guy. I never have been. I mean, when I was a little boy, did I watch wrestling on Channel 5? Did I watch Bruno Sammartino, Gorilla Monsoon, Argentino Apollo, you know, the Golden Boy? Yes. Did I watch all those wrestlers? Yeah. Did I watch the shows in the morning? Yes. The tag teams and all the stuff before it got to be absolutely unbelievable. Before it just took off and became an incredible entertainment value, and also just an incredible property. Let's be honest. The guys who brought you wrestling got very rich, whether it was McMahon or Ebersol, who had a lot to do with the TV product that you saw. They made a lot of money. Hulk Hogan's passing, he was kind of he transcended his sport. He was kind of bigger than life. I mean, there are guys who were like that, who are just recognizable when you see them. You know who they are. Everybody knows who they are. Whether you are a follower of their profession or not, there are certain people in American life who become that big. Hulk Hogan became that big a figure. So I know to the wrestling community, he meant an incredible amount. And he should be recognized for what he did to the growth of that entertainment genre. I mean, he really had a very big role in that, and was a bigger than life character. And considering, you know, that's the neighborhood I live in right now as far as age, you think that's far too early to go because that's what happens when you get to be 70. You think, wow, when someone dies the same age or younger than you, you're like, oh, it just hits home. It always does. And you just count your blessings. But I know that to a lot of you, that was a very, very important passing and a very, very important moment. And he was someone who was a very big part of your childhood, and important to you. So I wanted to mention him, even though, wrestling's not my thing. It never was. It just, as an adult, I spent no time around wrestling at all. So I'm not the person to comment on any of his matches or any of that stuff, because that's just not my thing. But clearly, there are guys who transcend their profession, and he clearly did, and became an iconic figure in every way, and a huge, huge property. So I know his passing meant a lot and was touched a lot of people, as his life did. Like I said, I'm surprised by the Mets. It's not the first time the Mets have puzzled me. And give Stearns credit for this. I saw him do a thing about 10 days ago, and he said, "I think the bottom of the order is gonna hit, and I think it's coming around." And you know what? He was right. Beatty's been better. Santos been better. Big double the other night. Mauricio obviously putting it in McCovey Cove and getting 4 hits. Alvarez has come back swinging the bat better. The bottom of the order is hitting. I would like to see them get Mullins and put him in center field. I think that would be an addition to the club. Obviously, they need pitching. They need, if they want to make a move in the playoffs, they need to get pitching. Their pitching is suspect. But the team is hung together very well, and right now is playing very, very good baseball again. And winning games, which is what it's all about. There is something really missing with the Yankees right now, even before Judge went down. Because you're almost waiting for the breakdown, whether it's the pitch that is hung and they give up the home run, or they make the base running gaffe, or they make the big mistake in the field. And they have needed to change the way this team executes and the way it feels about itself. And this is a critical, critical time for this team to go out and prove it can hold its own while Judge isn't there and not fall apart. And that's why yesterday's game was a big, big, big game. Hey, they didn't win the series. If you look at their record over the last 30 games, it's awful. They've been one of the worst teams in baseball in the last month. You shouldn't have a lot of confidence in what you're seeing right now. But they still have the ability to make something of this year. Now, this is a long way from a championship team, but I do think it's a playoff team. But it needs to make moves here. And it'll be fascinating to see in the next 3 days exactly what's going to happen. I think you'll see more people added for the Yankees. I'm big, as you know, on the McMahon thing. If you listen to the show, I don't even have to tell you that. I think that's a big positive. And I think he's going to be a fan favorite the rest of the way and a very positive player for them. They have more work to do. And Boone has more work to do. He has got to put the pedal to the metal and let this team know that it has to play tighter baseball. And that's something that he has been remiss on. I know he's a player's manager. I know how he approaches things. But the bottom line is the Yankees, most of the time, have their heads in the wrong places. And they don't execute properly in any facet of the game. And that has got to change. And it has got to change now. We'll see you later.